Yo, what is going on, you guys, and welcome back to LewisFiction and rewriting the Multiverse Saga. This is going to be my Phase 5 in my rewrite, so if you haven't seen Phase 4, I highly suggest you go and watch that video before you watch this one, or else nothing here will make any sense whatsoever. Anyway, let's get straight into this. Okay, so I'm going to have to apologize because I lied. I said that She-Hulk, Moon Knight, and Thor Love and Thunder were pushed back to this phase. Yeah, well, no. They're cancelled. Sorry. I know a lot of people aren't going to be too upset about not including She-Hulk or Thor Love and Thunder, but I know a lot of people enjoyed Moon Knight. See, the thing is, my whole rewrite of the Multiverse Saga centers around streamlining the phases and making them slimmer and more digestible stories. So every show and movie feeds into one another. And to do that, these three projects just aren't needed whatsoever. However, there is one exception, and that's Guardians 3. Because, you know, it's Guardians 3, so, I mean, it's my rewrite, just let me do what I want. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's do this. We're going to have three major storylines in this phase. The multiverse stuff, the street level story, and a brand new story which will be the mutant storyline. Now, Phase 5 will be known as the mutant phase because that will be the heavy focus of these stories and building up new heroes. And the culmination movie at the end of this phase, which will bring everything together, is actually going to be revolving around mutants as well. So the first film in the phase will be Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and this film will set up the idea of mutants in the MCU through Namor. The only change I'm going to make here is that I'm going to be removing Ironheart. She's an okay character, but I definitely think is the weakest part of the film. The rest of the film can stay the same. I just think it's a great movie, but I think Ironheart isn't necessary, and since I'm going to be cutting her show from this phase as well, and the foreseeable future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I really don't think that she is needed. Anyway, moving on to the second movie of the phase, which will be Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We're going to introduce more of Kang the Conqueror in this movie, and we're going to be looking into the quantum realm. So basically, we're going to be keeping this movie practically the same as it will be in real life. Now, obviously, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania isn't out just yet, so there might be a few things here and there that I don't predict, and there might be a few things that I get wrong about the movie, but practically it's going to stay the same as we think it will be at this point in time. Cassie Lang, however, I want to emphasize, she will be built up as a big character in this movie, and that's because Scott Lang will in fact die at the end of this film. Now, my reason for this, if you haven't seen my video essay over on Lewis Films of Quantumania, I explained basically that I think Kang should kill Scott Lang by the end of Quantumania, and the reason for this is because I think Kang's true power level going into Secret Wars and Avengers Kang Dynasty will be emphasized even more than it already is if he is able to kill one of the most experienced Avengers at this moment in time. And I personally think if Scott Lang is to escape unscathed from Quantumania, along with the supporting cast as well, I think this will devalue Kang as a character. Kang has said multiple times that he has killed many Avengers over and over again. As per the show don't tell rule, Scott will also die at the hands of Kang, setting him up for Kang Dynasty even more. And Kang will be a threat that is being built up throughout this phase, and you'll see that pay off later. Anyway, moving on to the third project in the phase, which will be Echo, and this will stay as a series. I have a habit of changing the series into movies, but I think Echo will stay a series, and the reason for that is because Daredevil Born Again was in fact a series that I put in phase 4. Well, I do think this is going to be a series continuing the street level story. Obviously, Kingpin is the main big bad of the street level story. We are also going to carry on having Daredevil appear in this show as well, but mainly this will flesh out Echo's relationship with Wilson Fisk and explore her character mainly. However, like I did say, this will explore the street level stuff and will continue that story. The next project in the phase will continue the mutant storyline, and that is Miss Marvel. Now, Miss Marvel will relatively stay the same as it did in the actual Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, there will be a bigger emphasis on the mutant side of things. So Miss Marvel being a mutant will actually be a bigger story played out in this version of the show. And yes, this will be a show because I feel like we need quite a lot of time to fit in everything that the show already does, along with the bigger emphasis on Miss Marvel being a mutant. And also, I really like the show. I think it's youthful, I think it's funny, I think it's a fresh take on something in the MCU, so I definitely want to keep it as a show. Now we move on to Loki Season 2, which will also be a movie, just like how Loki Season 1 was also turned into a movie. And this will be called Loki: Dawn of Dynasty. Now, this film will obviously have Kang the Conqueror as the main villain, just as Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania did as well. But obviously these will be different variants of Kang created from the end of Season 1 after Sylvie killed He Who Remains and the timeline split. Once again, I would like this film to build up Kang the Conqueror and really show us his true power, and show us that no Avenger is in fact safe. So Loki will actually die at the end of this film as well, protecting Sylvie. Sylvie's goal from the first film to go and hunt down Kang and He Who Remains will be emphasized now to a larger scale. And obviously wanting to avenge Loki, she will go on to escape Kang and then join the Avengers later on in Phase 6. But we'll get to that in the next video. Next up is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, this is in smack bang in the middle of the phase because I feel like this is a bit of a half time. Essentially, we are halfway through the phase, and we're just taking a little bit of a breather. We're taking time to explore this avenue of the MCU because Guardians of the Galaxy really does not fit into this story whatsoever, especially the angle that I'm taking from it. But obviously, the Guardians of the Galaxy are relics of the MCU and definitely deserve to be in here and get their third film, and get their payoff. So it won't attach to anything. This will be the break in between all the stories that are happening at this moment in time. However the film turns out, it will act exactly like how this will. So if the film's out when you're watching this video, then, well, that's how the film goes. Next up is Spider-Man 4. Now, Spider-Man 4 is going to play a huge role in the street-level story in this phase. Essentially, this is going to be the end game of the street-level story. But I want to put emphasis on, this will not be a full-fledged crossover movie. If you guys are not aware, basically in the contract between Marvel and Sony, 2 major MCU characters have to appear in every Spider-Man movie. Now, we can play this into our hands, as Spider-Man 4 will be a more grounded story. And we know that Spider-Man 4 will also tap into the street-level stuff if the rumors are to be true. So tying that all together, Spider-Man 4 will be the conclusion to the street-level story in the Multiverse Saga. And essentially, Kingpin will be the main villain, and we will also see heroes like Daredevil and Kate Bishop also show up in this film alongside Spider-Man. Now, don't get me wrong, this will still be a Peter Parker story and will be way more grounded than the previous 3 films. In fact, Peter will be dealing with his college life, he'll be dealing with financial problems, and wholeheartedly, it will be a centric Peter Parker story. However, we will see these other heroes show up to help him defeat the Kingpin in the end. And it kind of comes full circle because Kingpin was originally a Spider-Man villain from the comics. He then went on to be more popularized with Daredevil, but it comes full circle when he ends up being the main villain of Spider-Man 4. Now we move on to the final film in Phase 5, and this will be the culmination film of this phase, which will be none other than the X-Men. Now this story will be about the X-Men first forming together. Mutants have started appearing throughout the MCU per Miss Marvel and Namor, and essentially Charles Xavier will be a mutant himself. And the story of this film will essentially be about Charles Xavier creating the school for the X-Men. The obvious difference here between the comics and this film is the fact that Xavier will start the school in the present, and the X-Men will generally be a new thing. Whereas in the comics, the school has been around forever when it comes to present day. And I think it'll be interesting because with superheroes already in this universe, you could play around with the morality of mutants in a sort of a civil war aspect, and I think that could be a cool story to play around with in the future. This movie will be introducing some of the classic X-Men characters. As I said, Charles Xavier, Magneto will be in there, Beast, Jean Grey, Cyclops, a bunch of other X-Men characters will appear as well. However, no Wolverine at this point in time. Wolverine will come at some point down the line in the future. But with that being said, that is pretty much it for my Phase 5 rewrite. Although it isn't really much of a rewrite because a lot of the stuff hasn't come out yet. But you get the point with all the phases announcing the movies and stuff. This is basically what I would do if I was to continue the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the multiverse concept going into Phase 4, 5, and 6. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like on it, and also make sure to subscribe so you do not miss Phase 6, because that will be coming out next week on Thursday. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video. Take care, and peace.